second, I think it's.
I've got the.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, everybody, it's 6 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and begin. Thanks for joining us, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thanks for coming. We will start with approving the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
The consent.
I'm sorry, the consent agenda. We'll start with that.
The agenda, the adoption of the agenda.
See.
Oh, boy. Okay.
You're all right.
We will start
Oh,
with
sorry.
a motion for the adoption of the agenda. Sorry, I'm all over the place.
I motion to adopt the agenda. A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Okay, Board of Education acknowledgements.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Sorry, guys, I don't know what. I guess it's the holiday hustle and bustle. Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor? Guess I'm trying to rush through the meeting. Okay. Now, Board of Ed acknowledgements.
I'll start with the high
Okay,
level.
super.
Jump in. So last month, told you that, and I know you guys already know, but it's worth repeating as many times as we can. Last month, we told you right before, I think the board meeting or something, our cheerleaders were getting ready to go to their state competition, and they came back champions once again. So that makes it 3 out of the last 4 years. I think Gene said that's officially a dynasty now. So, but that's a pretty good accomplishment for them. We presented the trophy to them the other night, basketball game. They did their performance that they did. That performance, if you were there, that was a performance they have to do at the end. So all 3 of those elements they come out and they do all 3 of those elements individually, and then at the end they have to put them all together and do that whole big routine. And this year, I saw the score. In years past, we were talking half a point, tenth of a point. This year wasn't even close. We went into the finals up over, I think, 8 or 9 points, and we won in the finals by over 10 points. So just shows, the dedication and the hard work that the coaches and the girls put in, because that's not an easy competition. So anyway, kudos to them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
wonderful. Thanks.
We'll keep the high school rolling here. I have 3 quick things I want to share. I had my last LFT workshop as part of the cohort group that I travel around with in Wichita since our last meeting. So I'm glad to be finished up with that because it was a lot of days out of school is a big commitment, but a really wonderful learning opportunity and a way to build some relationships with educators across the state. Every once in a while I get to live vicariously, and I did that a couple weeks ago through Sarah Allison. She was in New Orleans for a history teachers conference at the National World War II Museum. Sent me lots of pictures. The jealous part came in where she said she was literally walking through the museum and had entire exhibits where she was the only person in that space. I went to it when I traveled to the Sugar Bowl a couple years ago, and it was shoulder to shoulder like this. Still really neat to be at, but I'd like to go back and spend it in a couple days anyways to see it in the right way. History is kind of my jam as it is Miss Allison's. And the last thing, coming up the next month or so, we're working on a couple of redrafts for our business department at the high school. So it's always fun to talk about what curriculum needs to be updated so that we can make sure that our teaching and learning stays relevant for students. And so you'll see at least one new course presented to you that will allow our business department to transition and essentially keep up with the times. And Matt and Tammy joined me with a couple of our business department teachers last week for a meeting, and feel like we got a really good plan about that. So that's all I have.
So I want to give a huge shout out to Elias White, who was nominated and selected as an outstanding paraprofessional by the co-op. So kudos to him. This is his first year working with us. He's done an outstanding job. Also wanted to share, we're super excited about Wednesday night. We've got that art and STEM night coming up from 5 to 7. So all kids' work will be on display for parents to come and view that. And then we also had a choir concert that night at 7 o'clock too. And just a little piece about choir. So on Friday, the high school kids were over practicing in our auditorium for that. And so I got an opportunity to kind of sit in there a little bit on that. And it's going to be awesome, I'm just telling you. It was really cool. So they did a really good job. So hopefully you'll get an opportunity to go to that. Also, 7th grade gets to travel to see A Christmas Carol, which is a great tie-in to one of the literature pieces that they read in class as well. And so really a great experience for our kids to be able to do that, because some of them may not ever get that opportunity again, and so we always appreciate being able to provide that for them. And then also just put a big plug in for continuing with arts. We've got the district band concert next Thursday. So if you're able to attend that should be a good one as well. So just kind of wanted to share those things with you.
All right, I'll go next. November, busy month at Sunflower. We had our Blue Ribbon celebration, we wrapped up our last round of interventions, and we're starting our assessments right now, our winter assessments. 4th grade was especially busy. They had their field trip to J.A. Biztown. You know, last year when we went, our students received lots of compliments just on behavior, etc. Same thing again this year. So shout out to our volunteers and such. The teachers do a great job. And it's a great experience. And then 4th grade also had their music program. Our theme this year at Sunflower is beach, so they did holidays at the beach, so it was a lot of fun to watch. And then Kim Weber, if you remember in August, I talked about Curiosity Cube came to Sunflower. Well, they were talking about they will also come into the schools and do labs. So she worked it out that they came and did a lab, full day labs with each of the grade levels, and the kids all got lab coats, safety goggles, and it was a lot of fun. They really enjoyed it.
To wrap it up here, Cottonwood, we had our family reading night, November 21st. It was well attended. We had over 65 families there to learn about the science of reading and do some things, reading activities with their kids. And kudos to our Title I teachers and our staff that helped to put that on and volunteered to be there that night. Just finished up our 2nd grade Christmas program last week. That was well attended. It was a great program. And then we're in the middle of FastBridge testing as well, getting ready to start that tomorrow. Hopefully we'll look at some of our efforts to teach our kids instructed in areas of reading and then the math too. So we'll be looking forward to getting that data back from them. And then just as December has it, we have a lot of spirit days at Cottonwood, and so a lot of fun to be had with that. And Max the Elf is at his antics again across the building, so good times at Cottonwood.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so next up we have the KASB convention recap with myself and Kelly. I guess I'll start if you don't mind, Kelly.
No,
I
I
was
don't.
only able to attend on Friday, but it was wonderful. I have only attended one other time during my school board career, but both times are just very motivating. It's really enlightening to be among other board members and be able to brainstorm and hear all of the wonderful things that all the schools are doing. Something really fun we got to attend on Friday was the district showcase, and that's new, Kelly,
This is
last
the second year.
Okay, so the second year, and that was just so much fun. Our district had the robotics team there, so they were there demonstrating, working with their awesome robots. I even got a chance to drive the robot, so that was really cool, and I didn't wreck it, so that was awesome. And then I attended the Blueprint for Literacy session, and that was really interesting. And there was a huge focus on the science of reading which I felt a little knowledgeable about since I had attended our Cottonwood meeting and gotten to hear about the science of reading over there. And I'm just really excited because our district is on track and we're doing the right thing and going in the right direction. So there's a lot of exciting things happening with reading, and I'm just so happy that we're following the right path. So that's what I have. It was really good, and if you ever get a chance to go, other board members, I would encourage you to attend. Okay, Kelly, I'll let you go from there.
Okay, so let me get over, so Saturday morning, Dr. Watson was there, the Commissioner of Education, and so he had some really good information. Our across the state, the post-secondary success rate is up 6 points in the last 8 years, which is really kind of a big deal. Also, the graduation rate of all students is up 2% in the last year, 5.5% for free and reduced, and almost 4.5% for disabilities, students with disabilities, which, you know, free and reduced and students with disabilities is a really hard group to try to get increased in graduation rates. So it was really nice to see that statewide we are doing really good things. The other thing that he had that was kind of a little bit of a shock when you think about it, there's 38,000 students that are taking post-secondary classes in high school. So 47% of all juniors and seniors across the state are taking some post-secondary class in high school. And combined, they have gone 332,000 and some change in credit hours that they've earned in high school. So that alone is really a testament to the students, but also to the schools and the teachers, and, you know, just us having the ability for them to take a post-secondary class in high school, because once upon a time that was not a thing. I attended a session with Dr. Cassidy, who's the superintendent in Burlingame, and she does a presentation. It's called Roll Call, and it's the ABC. She's actually written a book. But she focuses on academic behavior and character, social, emotional in the classroom. And so some of the key things that she pointed out was that you need to engage students immediately upon entering the classroom. So she does things when she was a teacher, and she encourages her teachers in her district to do them now. But she calls them bell ringers. So the second they come in the door, they have something to do. And she had a bell ringer for us, and it was a picture of like Long Johns, like donuts. And so there was some that were chocolate, but they were like cut in half. And so it was like, I noticed this about this picture. So it was like, write down everything that you notice about the picture. And of course there was no wrong answers. It was just something to get your brain going and to get focused about the class. Students need to expect the unexpected, because kids get used to the same thing every day, and lesson plans are crucial in that area. She did point out, which those ladies will tell you, really good instruction requires really good classroom management. You cannot have bad classroom management and expect your kids to get good results. Behavior must be taught. You should teach behavioral expectations. And she said you need to find ways to challenge students at higher levels of thinking. If you have students that only think at levels 1 and 2 on their assessments, then their scores are going to reflect that. You need to challenge them to think at a higher level than what they may be on, because that gives them the goal of where they're going. One of the other sessions that I attended was about the CAPS network, which CAPS was one of the programs that was started at the Blue Valley School District, and you had to go to school in Blue Valley to go there. That has branched off now, and so now there's 170 school districts across the United States and 120 what she calls affiliate programs. But basically what it is profession-based learning. So it's not going to work at a company and doing grunt work. You are going to do a project. So like she had the example of a pile of business cards, coming up with a marketing plan, or coming up with something that's not just putting the information into a computer in a spreadsheet. Like it's like doing a project for the company.
there are resources that are available through CAPS that are free, that you don't have to join the network. She even said that they have what they call design hacks or design sprints, and they're 1 to 2 day projects. So they're very low tech, they're for any age, there's a low barrier to entry because there's not a lot of stuff that you're required to have. They're easy buy-in for the community. And one of the ones that she talked about was there was a coffee shop in this little town that needed a logo or a design for their menu. And they engaged with the school, and in 2 days they had it all figured out. So it's real world experience, but it's actually doing something for a company. And she said that there has been some that have like gone through the field. There was one kid, poor guy, he thought he wanted to be in the medical field. So he went to shadow a doctor. Well, the day that he went, they were doing a colonoscopy. He decided he was not cut out for the medical field. So she was like, that's fine, there's something else we can do, but it was not medical, obviously. One of the last sessions that I went to was a session from the superintendent in Pleasanton, Don Epps, and if anybody has ever met him, he is a lot. He's a lot. He very much is okay making fun of himself in whatever way he needs to tell the story, and his was about flooding the positive. So it was about telling the stories that need to be told in your school community, and you have to deliver the story and always remember that successful people find a way to turn adversity into a learning experience. We have to tell our stories better and be fully committed to using every viable communication tool to get that done. There's always going to be people making negative posts and negative comments about your school and your education and education in general, and you need to just drown the negative by flooding the positive, was his words. They were all really, really, really good sessions this year. I don't know that I had a session that I thought, I could have skipped that. The Blueprint for Literacy one was really very interesting. They were talking about the micro-credentialing and the 6 hours of course credit for teachers, that any teacher can take, but they're structured for emerging readers, teachers of emerging readers, sorry. There's going to be a para course too that's going to be paid for by the Board of Regents. The 6 hour credit course for the micro-credentialing is going to be paid for by the Blueprint. She had some really good information. I'm glad that I'd gone to the Cottonwood presentation because they were talking about phonics and that reading is a code. There's a symbol and a sound, and you have to figure out how to decode those. It's not looking at a picture and guessing it's a cat. And so it was very interesting. The teacher that was there, from Washburn, fantastic. And then there is also a person from the Department of Education, Dr. Lori Curtis, who is going to be helping the districts network and find others that are using the same things that we're using so that we can not necessarily have to reinvent the wheel all over again. What was and then the other thing about the Blueprint is that there is going to be 7 centers across the state. Ours will be Pittsburgh State, but they will be filled with experts that can come to the classroom and help if you have an issue or you run into a problem and trying to get your curriculum going. What was the last thing that I wanted to point out? 40% of our students are graduating at a basic level, and that reading needs to be the district's #1 priority. This will be a journey, not a destination, and that Representative McDonald, who's on the K-12 Budget Committee, was asking for feedback about what we need to accomplish the goal. So she was there that day and just wanted to let everybody know that they will be reaching out to find out what we need to try to make this a success. So I do have some things for Matt after the meeting. I've got some stuff.
Kelly. our Tahoe presentation.
Yeah, with us tonight, we have Cameron Ludwood, our Tahoe Food Service Director, and he's going to make a presentation, and I believe he also brought some goodies for everybody, so I won't steal thunder, but Cameron.
Thank you, sir, I appreciate it. Thanks for letting me come in tonight, I appreciate it.
I can't see the little things up there.
Click the,
There. Just get me to
just
presentation
do
mode.
it,
Presentation. I can't see it. There we go.
There we go.
Okay, takes a village.
Thank you, Tammy, for your adjustment. So again, thank you for letting me come in tonight, I appreciate it. You can go to the next slide, Tammy, please. My name's Cameron, I'm the food service director here. It's been about a year since I've been here. It's been a good learning experience for me, coming from a lot of sports and entertainment, doing Arrowhead Stadium, Sprint Center, T-Mobile, whatever they call it. Melinda is my district specialist, and then Jeff is my district manager. Jeff was with me here last year. I asked for him not to come this year because I wanted to speak with you guys. Next slide, please. So we had another fall survey throughout the month of October. We did have a little bit of an increase in responses, which is fantastic. Love to see a little bit more, but a 9% increase is good, so we'll go ahead and take it. Next slide, please. A lot of student responses, not a lot from faculty, but a lot from the students, and then a little bit from parents and guardians as well. So again, I'd like to get a little bit more participation with that. It's kind of difficult sometimes, especially with that QR code that's kind of provided from Tahoe. Not everybody's gonna have a cell phone in the school, so it's a little difficult to get some of those responses, but working on some other things with that. Breakfast is not a popular hit, especially in high school and the middle school. So those are things that I'm trying to work on, trying to get some more fresh product into those avenues, try to make sure these kids are eating. It's not necessarily cool to eat breakfast at high school. So trying to change that. I'm not exactly sure other avenues other than maybe doing like some smoothie bars, things like that, but I gotta do some cost out and sourcing of items before I get there. Lunches, we have a lot of kids sitting with us every day. Participation is great. So that is fantastic. We'd love to see more faculty and staff eating with us, but we'll work on that as well. Next slide. So everyone was able to rate their lunch on taste, quality, variety, and healthy. Satisfied is definitely the highest mark, which is fantastic. We're just striving to add some fresh and less canned, less frozen, things like that. It's been a process, but we are slowly getting there, and I think that'll also, increase quality as well as healthy variety, all that. And then as far as favorite menu options, I believe that the tacos and the nachos are some of our biggest ones. I would credit some of that to our beef grant that we were able to get. So we've gotten 4, currently we're getting the second cow in a couple of weeks. So we've gotten 4 whole cows processed from a farmer, local farmer, so the quality of that beef is vastly better than what we were able to do prior to that. So that's huge. I would credit some of that to that because it's a lot of beef nachos and beef tacos and stuff like that. So next slide, please. Servers and cashiers, always courteous generally. Everybody's generally in a good mood, even if they're not, they like to show it. The district staff has been great. The Tahoe associates that I'm blending in with them, I've gotten a few more. It's a challenge, but it's been going pretty well actually over the last month or two. And then overall satisfaction seems to be pretty satisfied, a little over 70%. So that's fantastic. I was super happy to see that. And the next slide. So what we have here is banana caramel cheesecake shooter. It's actually what I prepared for you guys back there. Please help yourself. It was for the sunflower blue ribbon celebration. Kind of went around actually to each individual classroom and delivered it to the teachers as a little, pick me up for the day. So a little something sweet for them to get going. This is the SOS event. I was not here last summer, so Jimmy, thank you for inviting me to be able to help and participate with that. It was fantastic. Super excited to do it again. So.
Thank you.
So the snack carts, we have 4 of them, 2 in middle school and 2 in high school. Over the summer, I feel like over the summer I was able to kind of personalize those with my wife's help. I'm not very crafty, but with her help I was able to kind of personalize those. I think they look really nice. It's actually kind of gone through the Talker corporate ladder. That's something that needs to be standardized. So I thought that was super cool. And I got 2 new merchandisers in, thanks to Jimmy and Matt who approved that. Kind of expanded our beverage sales at the high school. It's been a good hit, so next slide please. The welcome back breakfast, super fun. It was great to see everybody. It's nice to be away from everybody for a little bit, but it's super cool to have everyone come back. So it was super simple, super easy, but it was a lot of fun to be able to participate in that. So thank you for letting us do that. Chef Tony has already brought his sizzle. So he went over to the middle school. He did some Moroccan lemon chicken wings with jasmine rice. It went over very well. We look forward to having them back in the spring. I'm looking at another Tahoe corporate chef to maybe come out as well in the spring to get some different flavors. Just kind of depends. Some people, he's got more Mediterranean and nachos and barbecue, and then we have some other people that do like Israeli kind of food and things like that. So just kind of finding the right one would be nice to get somebody else out here. This is just, I really just put this in here just because John over here cracks me up. So we had a nice little holiday or Halloween party, and just something for the staff to get together and kind of blend and not be worried about food and kind of joke around for a little bit. So that was fun. And then also we had about 300 pounds of turkey. Brined, roasted, sliced, and then reheated for Thanksgiving. So it was a fantastic meal and had a lot of participation. I've gotten a lot of compliments from it even yesterday. So it's fantastic. So yeah, it's just it's been great. That was a lot of fun. So looking forward to do more of that, more fresh foods because it goes over extremely well. So yeah. Thank you for your time. Is there any questions or anything like that for me?
I guess I'll ask, so you spoke of trying to get more fresh and healthy options. Is cost just the only holdback there?
Sometimes, yes, sometimes, and then it's also just sourcing the items. We do work with CNC Produce, which is a local purveyor within Kansas City. That's just kind of been developing over the last couple months. So I'm trying to get more fresh produce in from them. It's a lot cheaper too. So that helps because in this business, I mean, I used to count dimes and now it's fractions of pennies to make numbers work. So, anything like that will be helpful. So I'm hopeful in January that we start getting some other things going. So.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
And thanks for the goodies.
Yes, please try
Yeah,
it.
yes,
Please.
absolutely.
Thank you.
We do not have any open forum this evening. So next up we have action items. First up we have to approve the cost of living resolution, and Matt and Jimmy are going to talk to us about that.
Yeah, so, excuse me. Last month Jimmy talked about the cost of living, so really just need feedback on what the direction the board would like to take in regard to this. Approving the cost of living is just allowing the use for if the need would arise during the budget season. So I don't want to speak, I mean, I'll let Jimmy talk, but that's kind of what's in front of us right now.
Yeah, I have just a few brief talking points that I'll go through, just kind of, I won't rehash everything that we went over in the past, but in my last couple of years of budget presentations, I've had the slide in there about levies that we don't levy, but we could, and so cost of living is one that's been in there. But again, as Matt said, to do that, we have to pass the resolution as the first step. So with our bonds paying off after this fiscal year, actually they'll pay off the first month of next fiscal year, but there won't be a mill levy. So those 5.6 mills will go to zero in next year's budget. So again, the tax that we levied in this budget year for bond and interest payments was about $1.4 million. That's the local portion of that. And so, as I shared last month, if we levied the cost of living, that's about $511,000. That amount will vary. That's if we had done it this year, because it's a percentage of your general fund. And so that's going to, the general fund will change next year, and the percentage will change depending on the calculations and whether or not we're eligible. So that's the other thing. We have to pass the resolution first, and then we have to be eligible to even consider it. But from a mill levy standpoint, the bonded interest mills, the 5.69 mills will go away. And so if we added in the cost of living, that would increase by about 2 mills. So if you say bond interest, rounding these numbers off is about 6 mills. That cost of living would increase 2 mills. And then there's an LOB impact of that because it all runs through general fund, which then causes an LOB increase as well. So that's about 1 mill if you round it. It's really like 0.6 mills. So the 6 mills going away, the +2 for cost of living, the +1 for LOB would be about still a 3 mil decrease next year with the bonds paying off. So again, just recently, the county posted the mill levy data for all taxing entities in Miami County, which coincides with the mill levy report that we have to do to the state of Kansas. So I wanted to just kind of recap that. So our 24-25 mill levy, so again, based on the 2024 Miami County data, our mill levy, and again, I'm going to round these numbers off not to talk about the thousands of a mill, but we're roughly 48 mills, and that's the second lowest among any school district in Miami County. The only one lower is Prairie View, and they're about 43 mills. And I always say 2 things about Prairie View. Is one, they have a power plant, and so that is a massive assessed value bump for them. And while they touch part of Miami County, I think about 25% of their district is Miami County, 75% is really Lynn County. But if you remember that list in my budget presentation, all the schools that touch Miami County, so Blue Valley, Gardner, Spring Hill, all those. So I look at all those that are out there on the Miami County Clerk's website. So anyway, Prairie View is about 43 mills. So with us going down and potentially another 3 mil decrease next year, our mill levy would drop to around 45 mills. So again, then we're only 2 mills above even Prairie View being the lowest. The statewide average for this year is about 52 mills. And so that's 4 mills higher than where we're at. There are 12 districts, if you remember, that I shared that currently levy cost of living. And of those 12 districts, their average mill levy is about 58 mills, which is 10 mills higher than where we're at right now, and 13 mills higher than where we would be next year potentially at the 45 mills. So I think that's significant. If you look at your 2024 Miami County tax bill, which just went out in the mail recently, everybody's bill in the bottom section there shows the revenue from the prior year. That's kind of the revenue neutral recap. And again, I'm quoting from a City of Paola notice because that's where my residence is. But if you look at that section, everybody's tax bill is different depending on what your assessed value did. But that revenue recap is standard. And if you look, it shows what the revenue was the prior year and the current year. There are only 2 negative numbers in that section. One is Miami County because they were revenue neutral, and the other is USD368 because we were revenue neutral. So the county was about $58,000 and change less. We were $194,000 less that we levied. So again, went down this year, and the numbers I shared earlier about the bond paying off and potentially another over $700,000 in tax relief for next year. Still being revenue neutral, even levying cost of living would be very likely. So again, kind of my summary of it is that cost of living, it's an opportunity to retain a portion of the mill levy savings from the bonds paying off in order to provide the resources that we need for our students, our staff, and for our facilities, while continuing to be responsive to our district patrons and taxpayers. But again, the first step is to pass that resolution, and then there would be the legal notice in the newspaper following to even be able to consider levying it next year. And again, we would have to meet the eligibility requirements, which again is based on the average housing cost of our community. So,
Have we ever passed a resolution and not used it?
not for cost of living, because
Over any
we've never
resolution
retained
for
it.
any increase on taxes?
I would say yes, because we have the authority out there for capital outlay, 8 mills, and there have been years we were less than that. A couple years ago, we only levied 6 mills. So we actually kept that revenue neutral like 2 years ago. So that one is kind of a good example. We have 8 mills authority, we haven't always levied it. Now we are.
And personally, I don't like the usage of mills because it's confusing when you're saying you're going up or down on mills. Because if we continue with a 5% annual increase like we had roughly this year, we would have to go to a 45.75 mill rate to stay revenue neutral. And my issue personally with the cost of living adjustment is it's more of a unrealized gains in an aspect, because usually when you're doing cost of living, you're giving somebody a raise so they can keep up with the inflation with their pay. And if that's specifically for Social Security, for mostly. But when you're doing unrealized gains, we're basically taxing them on an unrealized gains of their appraised value of their home. So that's my biggest concern with it. I don't think that's right to do to the taxpayers in Miami County, and I personally would rather do a reasonable bond that they can vote on than do a cost of living adjustment.
Well, and I would say that's why when I mentioned that, I mentioned dollars and mills. People do compare mills, that's kind of the common denominator, but that's why I threw out the dollars, because I think it's important to show what we've done for taxpayers and the tax relief. And as you mentioned, bond, we did try to run a bond twice. So to me, this is, as I mentioned, for students, staff, and facilities, the bond would have done certain things. We're obviously not going to do all the things that would have been in the bond, but this is a source in addition to capital outlay.
I think the biggest issue was the bond with the $40 million aspect of it. I think if we did something and got a little bit more input, I think it had a higher chance of passing. That's just my perspective from talking to voters, so.
And that's certainly an option if the board chooses to pursue another bond, then you could do that as well. So this is just an option for your consideration.
Are we at the point, like budget-wise, where you feel this is like absolutely necessary to keep the district going?
I mean, that's a tough question to answer. I think it depends on, you see the expenses for facilities and things, and what the things that were going to be done in the bond, the replacement of things that, are going to have to be funded by capital outlay. It will just potentially extend the time that we're going to do those. Obviously, we don't have it now, but the reason that we're proposing it now is just because of the bond payoff, to layer that in, and it is basically retaining a portion of those mills, but still giving a tax relief. So we're functioning without it now. It's just, once that floor drops, you levy $1 more, you're no longer revenue neutral. So this kind of banks part of it for the future.
How long are you, is it on a year-to-year basis that you then levy that?
Yes, you have to qualify every year based on the appraised value of the housing cost relative to the state. So KSDE does the calculation that I shared some of the details last year, the whole formula, which is complex, of course. But yes, you have to meet that eligibility year to year. So we may or may not be eligible. Now, will our housing values decrease enough relative to the state to make us ineligible? Probably not likely. I mean, you see that percent has grown, so I don't see that necessarily changing. But it certainly could. The amount could change. And potentially, yes, you could not be eligible at some point in the future. So those are kind of the two tests that have to be met first before you can even consider doing it.
So if we vote on this tonight, will there be another vote if this is just to make it feasible to use or to put it in the toolbox necessarily when we do the budget? There will be another vote to actually implement it, or is this the vote that?
No, absolutely. Every year you got to vote on the budget regardless. So this is just step one to even have it as an option.
To even have it as
So
an
yeah,
option?
if you don't pass the resolution tonight, it won't even be an option. But if it is passed and approved tonight, it'll be published in the newspaper. There's requirements about it being legal notices. Has to run, I think, for 30 days. And then that allows us to consider it when we're doing next year's budget. But yes, again,
It would still require another vote when we do the
Correct.
budget as far as whether we want to implement it.
And we'll still have our public hearing, if we're revenue neutral or not, however that plays out, then we'll have the appropriate hearing. You'll either have a revenue neutral hearing or budget, both. So yes, that won't change.
I was somewhat shocked to see it even on the agenda since it's not really necessary to be published until May, so we did an April vote on it. and then publish it in May for the budget. That would make more sense to me.
And the reason it's on the budget is just because we didn't have, I mean, we had the presentation, there wasn't much feedback, so really today is for us to get feedback. I mean, I think that there's three options. I mean, approve, deny, or you can table it or say we want to bring it back at a later time. So this is direction for us.
I would just add that the information available now won't change, so whether you're doing that now or a month in the future, there's not gonna be additional information to me to help you make that decision. But you certainly could delay if you don't wanna make a decision.
Is there any other discussion? Do we have a motion to approve the cost of living resolution?
I can make a motion to approve the cost of living resolution.
Okay, is there a second? I will second it. So there's a motion and a second. Can I second it? Okay. There's a motion and a second to approve the cost of living resolution. All of those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed? Okay, thank you.
Can I say make a second motion to, it's already felt, so it's too late to table it, or can we bring it back up in like March? Is that possible? So we can reassess then, I think that's when we'll be able to see what the if we have much delinquent taxes and everything, give less tax payment to do then. So that's my thought.
If there's another motion to be made, I mean, that would be appropriate.
Okay, I would motion to reassess it in March. A second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to revisit the approval of the cost of living resolution in March. All of those in favor?
I'm fine with that,
Okay,
as long as we're gonna talk about it again. I'm fine about it, I'm fine with that.
all of those opposed? Okay. I guess I'm opposed because I wanted to vote for the other one.
So what was
So
the?
who was opposed?
I am
Was
opposed.
two opposed? Did you vote, Scott?
No.
He did not.
Are you gonna vote?
No, I'll abstain or whatever you like.
Okay, so it's gonna be 6-1-1.
511.
5-1.
5-1-1, sorry, I can really add this in.
That's okay.
I had, sorry.
No, it's okay. Math is hard, Jimmy, math is hard.
Okay. So next, are we ready for?
No, we have the foreign exchange policy.
Okay, next up, action item number 2 is to approve the high school foreign exchange policy update, and we have Matt and Jeff for that.
Yeah, I'll let Jeff talk about this, the reason behind it. This, to my knowledge and to Jeff's knowledge, this has not been something that's been, I don't recall this ever being like a formally approved, but it's what has been followed. And so Jeff mainly gets a lot of requests for exchange students, and in the past, we used just a couple different organizations. And so we're looking at opening that up a little bit, expanding that. So I'll turn it over to Jeff.
I get foreign exchange student requests. It's not every month, but it's frequently throughout the year. And I refer to our previous or past practices anytime I have a conversation, and that's difficult to refer anyone to information about, hey, this is why I'm telling you these things, other than this is the way it's always been. So we'd be codifying what we've done previously, with the exception of, we've tried to work as best as we could with an organization called FLAG. FLAG is an acronym. I don't know what it stands for. I should have looked it up. And the other one's Rotary International, and so we would prefer to work with those. The reason for that is we've had foreign exchange students arrive in our classroom that needed more assistance with English as a second language than some of our own district students, and it taxes our system. We actually had a foreign exchange student probably 10 or 15 years ago return home at Labor Day because they couldn't speak enough English to make it here. And so we are expanding the list of organizations that we work with. It actually matches what Kansas State High School Activities Association does from their list of approved organizations where a student could come here on their visa and participate in activities. That list changes from year to year, and so I referenced that as part of the document. The other thing it does is it codifies our limit of 2 per year. There are districts that do more than that, but most in our area do 2. I would caution against 5, 6, 7 because it takes the special experience away from the 2 students that come here, and I don't want them to get lost in the shuffle while they're here as well. The other thing that it does is right now I feel like the first 2 people to contact are the ones that are going to get to have a foreign exchange student. This would create a window of time where students and families could apply to be accepted here, and then we would screen those applicants and we would select 2 from that. And we would notify them by the date specified so that they could begin the enrollment process and we'd have them for the following school year.
This information would then be posted on our district website, so when there are inquiries, then Jeff can refer them directly to that information. And some of those organizations are really pretty good about trying to find that on your website as well. So. Questions?
I personally like that you're doing this because I've had a lot of people reach out about foreign exchange students and why our policy was the way it was.
Yeah.
So seeing actually a written policy makes a big difference in opening the window and a time for an application process. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah. We stole, at least initially, this information from DeSoto. I got on, I really like theirs, I explored some others, and then of course we tweaked it to match what we needed here. But I think it will save a lot of frustration from people that are like, well, I didn't know there was a window, or I didn't know you already had the 2. Why do I need to use this organization instead of that? So thank you for seconding that.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the high school foreign exchange policy update? Okay, so it's a motion, and do you want to give it a second? We have a motion and a second to approve the high school foreign exchange policy update. All of those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you.
How much time is it?
That would be a question for you all.
Oh.
The first one is to discuss my evaluation. So what has happened in the past is you all you should have copies of it, but you all meet to discuss the compilation and so forth, and then once you have time, then I've been invited in to review that with me.
You just us alone.
So that would be up to you on how long you feel it.
It's gonna be, probably gonna need 15 or probably 15 minutes.
I was gonna say start
And you
with
can,
15.
what you can do, now you don't have to have a separate motion to have, once you invite me in. In other words, you don't have to do like 15 minutes and then come back out and then invite me into the other. What you can do is state whatever the time is, and then
That's including bringing you in?
and then when you want me to come in, we will note the time for, and so we can do that as well. Just to try to save from coming back and forth.
It's not fair.
Madam President, I move that we
go into executive sessions with the board to discuss pursuant to personnel matters of non-elected personnel in order to protect the privacy interests of the individuals to be discussed, and that we return to open session in this room at
7:15 or something.
7:15. Second.
Okay. All of those in favor, please raise your hand. We have a motion and a second.
And everybody, there's stuff here, so is there back there, help yourself.
Kelly, do we have to go back in this section, or do we have to make another, just make another
I
motion?
think you can just make a motion.
You can extend.
Move to extend.
I think we need to, yeah.
Do I need to read this to extend, or I make a motion to extend till 7:45.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand.
Bye, guys.
It might be here till midnight. I'm kidding.
It's cool.
Okay.
I move we, what did we say?
Go
Make a
back
motion
in
to go
for
back,
15.
extend for another 15
No,
minutes, and come back to us early at 8 o'clock.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second to extend. All those in favor, please vote. Thank you.
So we're gonna do 6-0 with
6-0.
Christian gone.
Yes. Executive session with them.
Okay.
20 minutes.
20 minutes? Okay. Madam President, I move that we go into executive session with Matt pursuant to personnel matters of non-elected personnel in order to protect the privacy interests of the individuals to be discussed, and that we return to open session in this room at 8:25.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All those in favor? Okay, now we're at action items. First of all, to approve administration and director contracts.
To make a motion to approve administrator and director contracts.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the administration and director contracts. All those in favor, please raise your hands.
Ask for opposed.
Oh, I'm sorry. All of those opposed, please raise your hands. Okay, thank you. Okay, next. Oh, so, I can still. Okay. Okay, and the second action item is to approve the superintendent contract.
Motion to approve the superintendent contract.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the superintendent contract. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks for having us.
I will.